I thought we were Memorex.
Hello and welcome back to San Juan County Council's the August 25th, 2020 regularly scheduled meeting. We've been on a break for about an hour to have lunch. Also, if it's all right with council, I'd like to add a 5-minute executive session after the closed session. Discuss current and pending litigation pursuant to RCW 42.30.110(1)I. It will take literally 5 minutes, and no action will be taken. Is that all right, council?
Yep.
All right, thank you.
I'm available in that session too. Yes.
Yeah, Randy, it's the discussion we had yesterday.
We didn't have a discussion yesterday about litigation.
Okay, well, please feel free to join us.
Well, one of your attorneys needs to be there.
That's you, Randy.
Thank you, Randy.
I'll be there.
Great, thank you. So, council, we've had obviously an interesting year. We started out with the work plan for the year that was obviously altered pretty significantly by COVID. We have made some really great accomplishments in keeping the community safe and some of the things that we've passed. But I really wanted to turn over for discussion to council what both of you would like to see us focus on for the remainder of the year. I feel like I've pushed some things that were important to me, and I really want to make sure that we're collectively together on issues that we address going forward. So there isn't really any format for this other than, we're kind of in the home stretch for 2020. Outside of COVID and things that we're already working on, what would council like to spend time on? I know it doesn't matter who goes first. Hopefully this is an all right discussion too. We just haven't really touched base much since the OPMA allowed us to kind of get back to more normal business. So, I don't know, Mr. Stevens, would you like to start, or Mike, do you have any comments?
I'll let, well, just a general comment. So I was talking to Rick the other day, and we're a little bit past the point we usually talk about, okay, well, we had a lot of stuff planned for this year. What realistically are we going to concentrate on getting done for the remainder of the year? So that's the conversation we'd like to have today. So I have some thoughts, but I'll let Mr. Stevens go first.
Well, I didn't really know what to expect out of this, so I'm not really that prepared for this discussion. So it'd be helpful if we had the list that we talked about at our beginning of the year retreat.
Okay, well, we can push this discussion to the 15th, and I can bring that forward to council. I just thought we'd have a general discussion on if there's anything specific you wanted to, but we can move the discussion to the 15th, and I will get more materials to both of you.
Well, I'd be interested in what Mike had to say, just because I'm not ready.
Well, I think one, well, first we just checked off some really important things as far as marijuana and SMP and the revised 2020 budget goes. So that's great news there. One of the things that's been circling around is vacation rentals. There's an assumption about new fee revenue from vacation rentals and perhaps some other changes. So I would throw that out there for discussion, maybe not today, but something that we should decide on when we talk about it on the 15th.
So my top list would be the CDP fee revision ordinance. Which should hopefully cover the vacation rental annual certification fee discussion. The other thing, obviously, we got council needs to wrap up its 2021 prioritization discussion, and I'm still pushing for what are we going to stop doing discussion, right? And I don't have any grand plans or great ideas, but I still think we need to stop doing something, or some things.
And so, Bill, that leads into the next discussion item was, we're pretty close to wrapping up 2020. There was a request from the auditor on reconvening the budget team to talk about 2021, and we hadn't discussed that yet. I'm not sure that's where I want to go, but I wanted to bring it to council.
Well, again, this isn't about creating a new budget. This is about how we're going to trim the existing budget. And, you know, we've asked department heads to make suggestions, and no one's really come forth with suggestions about what we might want to stop doing and what the benefit would be. Everybody I know, you know, hates that conversation, but as leadership and managers in an organization that needs to trim its budget, that's the appropriate way to approach it, I think. So I'm looking for department heads to step up and suggest the right things. You know, we've gone around and around and around with the park fair budget, and again, admittedly, none of us have come up with a good idea or a good suggestion as to how to actually resolve that for the long term.
So I just had so Mike, I was trying to find the list that kind of Erica had gone over probably a month or probably more ago of like what is going to get done or what could get done and what's not going to get done in her shop.
Right.
And you know that might be a guide unless there's something there that we would want to reprioritize. I'm sure it's not as simple as it seems, but it seemed like we had some framework if we do go with vacation rentals that we had at least talked about between possibly because we haven't decided anything, limiting the number per year and making some adjustments to maybe the density and neighborhoods, you know, as well as the fee structure for getting an annual permit. To run the program. And, you know, as far as the rest of the year, if we had anything in Mark's shop, that's just been preempted. And so anyway, I'd be kind of interested to see our retreat list, but I can't find either quickly.
Okay.
As far as the budget goes, I think, you know, we went to a biennial budget, so technically we passed a budget.
Exactly.
So, what I think Bill phrased it pretty well. What we're doing is doing a mid-year review on it.
So, for clarity, are you both saying that at this point we're still comfortable with council working for a final resolution to the 2021 budget, or do we follow the auditor's request about reconvening or convening a budget?
I don't see any reason to reconvene a budget team. I don't know. Maybe she has reasons to do that, and I leave that up to her and Mr. Thomas. But clearly, we need input from department heads as we try to figure out things to cut, or you know, just start cutting. And you know, we haven't looked at 21 in so long. I don't even remember where we're at. So you know, that would be the first place to start. Now that we've done 20, have 21 reprojected based upon 20 and early retirements and all those kind of things, and get I'll call it a new baseline for where we're at with where we think we're at with 21 and where we think we need to get to for 21. So but that would be a discussion just I think with the auditor and Mr. Thomas and ourselves, just to sort of okay, what's the new bottom line or starting point for 21's discussion by council.
Mr. Stevens?
Oh, I didn't have anything to add to that. I thought that's pretty good.
No, I agree. I think that we still have some work that we can do here I'm not sure how far we are off for 21 as well. So, all right, great. So Mr. Stevens and Mr. Watson, I will get a hold of the documents from the beginning of the year, recirculate them, and I'll put this issue back on 15 or on the 9th agenda. I'm really just trying to hear from you of the things we identified earlier in the year, what you would like to work on outside of the couple points, vacation rentals and the fee revision, and what we actually have time to work on to get done without taxing staff. Is that all right?
Yep. And again, I'd put a specific request into the auditor to say, okay, now that we have the latest budget amendment passed for 2020, using that and our cuts and stuff, give us a new projection for 2021, and from which we can start, our additional discussions around.
Okay.
So, Mr. Hughes?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. So, I think the auditor said that she wasn't going to work. I mean, we know that we've cut quite a bit of money out of 2021, but with getting today the 2020 budget reset, we'll be able to do some projections. But I think what I'll do is work on kind of an outline for the 21 discussion. So with that reset, as you know, there's some outstanding discussions related to wages and assumptions there that we need to revisit. And those will be impactful. And then in addition to that kind of budget work, we also have some of the normal process for the TIP and the levies and that stuff that just has to happen every year as part of the budget process. So we have to append that onto this budget rewriting effort as well. So perhaps I'll work with the chair and the auditor to come up with an outline of some of the more major points that we have to either revisit or decide, and then we can figure out where we are for 2021. And then once we do that, then like Mr. Watson said, we'll have clarity on what other actions we'll have to take to write the 21 budget. But I don't want to continue to cut until we figure out where we're at. And some of these other conversations, will take a little bit of time to play out before we know where we're at with those.
So, Mr. Thomas, theoretically, we should be working on the quote, first budget amendment for 2021, right?
Yeah, because yes, it's been adopted.
Yeah, so in effect, we should start drafting all the stuff that we know that's going to go into that first budget amendment, and nothing prevents us from doing the first budget amendment during 2020 for our 21 budget, since it was a biennial budget.
Right.
Because the last budget amendment was explicitly only about 2020.
Correct. And I'm not totally sure, since we essentially adopted two one-year budgets and called them a biennial budget.
No, I understand.
But I think for purposes of amending, we can do that, whether it's 20 or 21.
Exactly. So, I would say let's start working on the first 2021 budget amendment that hopefully will pass before the end of the year.
Kind of needs to, but yeah.
Right?
Good idea, Mr. Watson. Thank you. All right, so we will, Mike and I will work together and get back to you before the 15th with hopefully next week, give you a week to think about things with information, if not sooner.
So, Mr. Chair, we should really have budget on every council meeting, because we're fast getting to that time of year where we are going to talk about the budget. So we'll have to do the revenue projections and other, like I mentioned, the TIP and the ACP and the levies and that stuff. So we can start programming that into the calendar like we would do this time of year anyway.
Okay, yeah, I will ask. I just asked Ingrid to add 2021 budget discussion to each of the remaining meetings until we are completed with whatever the final document is.
Great.
So we approved the radio project, and I assume we've gotten that funding initiated.
Yeah. So the it's been fully funded, so we have the money, if that's what you mean. And I can give you a little. So there's been a couple meetings amongst all the parties, and then there's a smaller working group that's between Rock Island and Codan and IT and a couple others. So they're the ones that are doing, the project level work on this. And so those conversations and meetings are ongoing. So that project is off and running, and we have the funding in hand.
All right. And so then the next other major capital project is Beaverton Valley, right?
Correct. So we are at 90% design. See what else? We need to get a conditional use permit. That's well underway. I think the building permit will or has been submitted for review. And so that's going well. The other part is the financing. So I'm looking at a funding source through the state treasurer's office called the local program, and they provide funding at very low levels, interest and almost no fees. There's a process that's starting now, and so I'm doing a little research on that program. It's definitely applicable to the SHOP project, and then I need to get the application materials together no later than I think January, and then there would be the funding is sometime in February. So I'm putting up information and timeline together so I can brief council on that. But I think it's a really inexpensive way to fund that project. PFM's been great, but there are some notable fees associated with going that route. So
well, and 4% interest rate seemed awful high considering the current state of affairs.
The most recent round of the local program, there was it actually falls under the real estate category is what we're doing. The interest rate was 2.25%. So anyway, we haven't used this program. I wanted to look at it. It's actually a program you can actually use for purchase and lease of equipment. So I'm going to talk to our E&R manager, Van, about possibly using this program as well. So, but yeah, that's the other thing. And then, as you know, we have a purchase and sale agreement with the town for the Guard Street shop. So that's been signed, and then the town, I think, has 90 days to do their due diligence on that property and get back to us.
Because again, all the general obligation bonds that I've seen available to me online through, Charles Schwab, is it in the 2% interest rate kind of range.
Yeah.
So,
no. I agree. We want to go low.
In this case, we want to leverage the fact that interest rates are in the toilet.
Yes. And that's why we're looking at this local program. So, and Mylene is familiar with that program too. So, that's helpful.
Okay, great. So those are the major capital projects that we've been working on that would be nice to sort of, maybe not, obviously they won't be completed by the end of the year, but, get on schedule and on track and get a couple milestones.
Yeah, I want the actions completed this year, frankly. So, council authority to do the financing and, sale of the property, and then 2021 is just about getting it done.
Right. Okay, good.
All right. Anything else regarding item 11 and 12? If not, we'll move into the 15th and have more backup information for both of you.
Nope, good for me, I guess.
Good for me.
All right, great, thank you. Our next item is a resolution supporting annexation of the Outer Islands with San Juan County Fire Protection District Number 3 as a first touch. Chief Collins, are you on the phone? And I see Mr. Gaylord is as well. Chief Collins from Fire District 3.
I am on the phone, yes.
So I'm not sure, Randy or Chief Collins, who's going to lead this discussion?
I'll start off. There you go.
Great, thank you.
Randy Gaylord, San Juan County Prosecuting Attorney. This is a matter that's come before the board as part of a request from citizens who live in the Outer Islands north of San Juan Island who wish to be included in Fire Protection District Number 3. And there are several processes to annex into a fire protection district. And this matter is coming before you as a request to hold an election and a vote of the people in the district in the area to be annexed. The way that comes forward is the people in the district circulate a petition, and when they obtain 15% of the registered voters in the last major election, signatures of that many people, then it's presented to the fire district, and the fire district gets to choose whether or not it concurs with the annexation. The fire district has concurred. They have submitted to you a resolution of concurrence, and along with the petition signed by the citizens in the district. So those are the two items that people can find on your agenda. You'll see the resolution from the district as well as the petition. And at that point in time, the auditor, I should say that there's another method also known as the petition method, even though this gets started as a petition and goes to an election. There's also a petition method whereby 60% of the citizens by property ownership can petition also for annexation. But that's not what's being used here. It's the process set out in 5204-011, which is known as the election method, and calls for an election to be put forward to the voters. In any event, part of that process involves the legislative authority of the county to review the petition and determine whether to put it on the ballot, and if so, how the debt of the district will be noticed and dealt with. And so I have, at first we thought there was a very tight time schedule to get this done, and there was no provision for a public hearing, at least as we first read it, except by pulling in the same process that's used for formation of a district. And that process, of course, does have a public hearing. You may remember that from the Decatur fire district proposal and the formation and the requirement of a process for a hearing. There's also a process for a hearing of the petition method involving landowners. And so, in any event, I came to the conclusion that a public hearing is required, that the public hearing requires 3 weeks notice in the paper of general jurisdiction, and also posting within the district at 3 different locations. So with those posting and notice requirements, the demand of the elections department could not be satisfied, and the timeline was insufficient to meet the need for getting this done in the November 2020 election. So this is going to be postponed to the earliest would be the February 2021 election. So I have drafted a proposed resolution for your consideration. But before that gets taken up, you should have a public hearing, and this is your first touch on this matter. You should take action to call for a public hearing and set a date for that to occur, and to provide for notice to be published for 3 consecutive weeks, and notice to be posted at 3 different locations for that hearing in the area to be annexed. So if I can show you the area to be annexed with my screen here. I'm going to share my desktop here, and let's see, let's bring that up. I've worked through with Camelin Armstrong in the auditor's office to work on the description of the legal area as described in the petition, and comparing that to
Hang on, Randy. Your desktop is being shared and is losing audio. My Skype still says it's trying to load Randy's desktop, and I got no audio coming to me.
I see Randy, but I don't hear anything.
So I see the same thing that you guys are. This is Chief Collins. Maybe while he's bringing that up, I can answer any of your questions. I also have Bob Brunkow on that is tied into your meeting, and if it would behoove the chair, he is one of the residents of Stewart Island, which is part of the group, and I thought it might be beneficial since he was part of the group that brought it to us as the fire district, and he wanted to make a couple comments on behalf of the group that's bringing that forward. If you would be willing to let him make a couple comments prior to your decision.
Council, you okay with that?
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead, Chief. If possible, while we're waiting for Randy to pull this up, if you could give us a just explain a little bit the district area after your guest has spoken.
Sure. I'd be happy to do that. Bob, if you're on, go ahead and I'll give the floor to you.
Okay. Thanks, Chief. My name is Bob Brunko, and I live at 911 Marine Lane on Stewart Island. And I've volunteered to prepare the advocacy statement with several other North Islanders to promote the North Island, Outer Island annexation. And in doing so, we've got a very favorable response to North Islanders, anticipating that we'll get the addition of a fire and rescue quick response boat located at Roach Harbor. That'll make a tremendous difference in terms of the ability to get quick access to medical and fire services that we don't now have. Generally, marine services come out of Friday Harbor, and that's problematic, obviously, in marginal weather and the additional time. We also anticipate that this annexation will greatly improve our fire insurance ratings. In fact, people who now cannot get insurance will likely be able to get insurance, and those that have it can anticipate a premium savings, and that's met with great positive response. We also anticipate that we'll be able to have additional on-site fire support equipment to at least provide exterior fire containment on structures that we don't now have. And I feel fairly confident in talking with Islanders that they will support the annexation, and we can come up with the necessary support in terms of a petition to meet the requirement outlined by Prosecutor Gaylord. Go ahead, Chief Norman.
Thanks for those comments. So to follow up on what Mr. Chair said or asked, currently the district provides service to all of San Juan Island, to Pearl Island, to Brown Island, and then we have a contract with the Department of National Resources as well as some other federal agencies to protect any of the other non-labeled islands. So this one, and I'll turn that over to Mr. Gaylord to describe those coming into the district, but as he prefaced it, it's going to be the northwesternmost islands to San Juan.
Yeah, those islands are the islands of Stewart, Johns, Henry, and Spiden. And there are some other smaller islands in that area. There are a total of 63 voters in this area, this territory, and those are the big islands. There are other smaller islands. I'm not aware of which, if any, of the smaller islands are populated.
Chief, quick question. I had heard some rumblings that Waldron might be part of this. Would that be something separate?
That is completely separate. I can give you a quick heads up on that. As you know, Mr. Chair, they formed a fire brigade, which isn't an official district. They did reach out to both myself and Chief Williams on Orcas Island, and both Chief Williams and I have a commitment to try to protect the rest of the islands as well. He didn't have it in his depth to provide additional services, so we are working with them to see what their needs are. We've taken no additional steps, and that is independent from this particular action.
Okay, great. And so for something like, did you say Johns or Jones?
Johns.
Okay, so any of the federal or state partners have been alerted to this situation as well?
That is correct.
Mr. Gaylord, is there anything else you wanted to say or provide us?
Let's see. I'm here to answer any questions you have. The resolution that I provided gives the findings that are to be made pursuant to the statute. They are actually a little broader than they're required because it's consistent with the formation of a new district, but they're otherwise completely consistent with the statute. The important one being this aspect, the financial aspect, and I'd like to have the chief talk to that. The statute talks about circumstances where the newly the late, you might call them the latecomers, the people joining the district late through the annexation, sometimes are charged with what I'd call a special benefit assessment for perhaps some capital costs that are otherwise chargeable to the district. Because of the financial condition of the district, it's low. In my understanding of a low debt at this time, there is no special benefit capital charge that is anticipated, and the new members of the district, the property owners in the district, will simply be assessed like any other property owner in the next levy cycle for the ordinary levy of the district. So they don't have any other special levies out there or bonds, public bonds that they would need to make special assessments for. But I'll allow the chief to address that.
Yes, what Mr. Gaylord said was absolutely correct. We did have that dialogue. The law provides us the ability to do, I'll use special assessment from a lack of the technical term, of up to 50 cents per thousand. But as we looked at an equity standpoint, a needs standpoint for what the outer islands would have, we didn't see it necessary to have any additional costs to those coming into the district should this annexation pass. We have existing resources. As you heard Mr. Brunkhouse state, that we are exploring additional marine resource in order to be able to protect all of the islands that, whether it's within the district currently or within contract with state and federal lands, we were already exploring that. So this is still within the design plan that direction I've been given by my fire commissioners, and the personal loan that we have out for the existing 6 fire engines on San Juan Island. We wouldn't be moving any of those resources to the outer island. We would be creating specific needs assessments for them and meeting the outer island's needs. So we didn't see any need to add that, as I referred to it, special assessments to them. So they would roll in directly into our tax roll should this pass at whatever the current existing rate per Washington RCW law states.
All right. Mr. Watson, do you have a question for either the guest or chief or Gaylord?
Yep, I do. So, Mr. Gaylord, so So what's in front of us is whether we're going to approve putting this on the February ballot. And my understanding is there would be two things on the ballot. One would be a vote by the new people that want to be annexed in, and the other would be to the existing members of the fire district as to whether they approve adding these other areas into the existing district, correct?
No, the annexation vote is different for a city which did have that approach than it is for unincorporated areas. The vote on this is put only to those in the territory to be annexed.
So existing members of the existing fire district get no choice in this matter?
They do not vote on this matter. They're represented by the fire district, of course, and their board, and their board is asked to concur on this, which they have done.
Great. Then to you, Chief Collins, you said this proposal will require the district to purchase an additional fire boat that would be based in Roach Harbor?
It doesn't require that, but as we explore meeting the response times and the needs of those communities, it would be a logical resource. I actually have been exploring that, and it was in my capital plan in the existing budget in doing a comprehensive plan. It's not required, but we are currently exploring it regardless.
All right. So again, this conflicts with me, Mr. Gaylord, since that if a boat is required to be purchased, that would be a capital purchase that the fire district would have to do, which means all existing taxpayers would own that liability.
Mr. Watson, if I could clarify for just a sec on that, the resource would be available for all of our protected areas, not designated specifically to that outer island group. It would be usable for all of our response area, and it's not required. It just seems, as I look at a comprehensive time response, it's a logical step that we're exploring to make sure it meets validation.
I got it.
Okay.
Next question is for Mr. Thomas. So what is the current standing of the fire district? Are they in good standing relative to our existing fireboat that's based in Friday Harbor Marina?
I'm not sure what you mean by good standing. I know that the fire district and the sheriff department jointly manage the operation of that boat.
Okay. Well, I knew there was some confusion and angst over the original purchase agreement and everything else, so I just wanted to make sure we're in good standing.
There has been some confusion and consternation from day one on the boat, and it predates, of course, Chief Collins.
Right, or any of us, maybe.
There's been discussion about cost of maintenance and cost of repairs. I haven't been party to those, but it's important. It's an expensive boat. I do have just a general consideration that I think feeds into this line of discussion is Fire District 3 wants to take on more responsibilities. It does put more demand on the use of that boat, but there are other agencies that also have a right to that boat. So I'm not sure if those discussions with the Sheriff's Department have taken place, and if not, they definitely should be. I want to make sure everyone has the same expectation on the operation and use of that boat.
Right. All right. Well, that's why I flagged it. And then my final question, and I don't know who this is to, but since Spiden is a privately owned island by, I believe, a single owner, is that single owner a signer on the petition or not?
He is not. They could be if he was a voter, but he is not. And we have reached out, and the group that was putting this together did reach out to him. I don't know if they've heard back from him or not.
Currently, it's not in the resolution, so I don't think Spiden's in the deal.
I thought Mr. Gaylord said it was.
Well, he did. I was waiting to ask that question, but
okay.
Because it's not in the resolution.
It's identified in the map. It's identified in the legal description, and it's part of It's not called out. I don't believe it's called out separately, but it is called out in the legal description.
Yeah. So I interpreted the resolution as all islands north of San Juan Island that are in the county up to Stewart.
Need to clarify on Pearl.
Pearl is already in the district, and you are correct, Mr. Watson, that it does include Spiden.
Right. Okay. So,
Just for the record, Spiden is owned by a corporation, not by an individual. Just for the record.
Yes, that is correct. That's my understanding. That's what's been published in the papers.
understand, but an owner of the entire island, I think, carries a lot of weight relative to that, whether they want to pay for fire protection or not. So, anyways, that's the end of my questions.
Go ahead, Jamie.
I'm still confused then. So does that mean Spiden will be charged to the fire district if this passes?
You bet.
But they don't get to vote on it?
Unless they're a registered voter. And I would suspect their valuation is pretty damn high.
Exactly.
I would hope that parties involved would have at least made an effort to reach out to the whomever owns Spiden to be part of this discussion.
That is correct. There's been multiple reach outs and attempts to get in contact with that LLC.
Okay. Any additional questions from either Mr. Stevens or Mr. Watson?
No questions.
Nope.
So if we're thinking on moving this forward, I was thinking that a 9:15 second touch to set a public hearing for 10:13. Does that sound all right to everyone?
Yep.
The public hearing date will be October 13th. Is that what you're saying?
That is my suggestion because it's September 15th, and you said 3 weeks, and our next meeting 3 weeks later would be the 13th of October. Is that okay, Mr. Gaylor?
Well, the requirement is that you have an obligation to move forward with a hearing here. And so you just need to set the date and arrange for 3 consecutive weeks of advertisement in the paper prior to that hearing date. If you set the hearing date, Ingrid and I can figure out what the dates of advertisement will be. If you want to have a second touch, you can do that, but one of the advertisement dates may have already occurred.
Okay. So Ingrid will put it on the 9:15 date and plan to set a public hearing at 9:15 and 13.
So, Mr. Gaylor, I think I just heard you say that we're obligated to sit there and hold a public hearing on this topic. Is that right?
That is correct.
So this is not a question of us voting on a public hearing.
No, you're obligated to set this for a public hearing, and then your discretion is exercised after the public hearing.
Okay, so we still have discretion as to whether to put it on a ballot or not.
That is correct.
Okay.
And again, just to make sure I'm clear here, so my suggestion is that we have a second touch on September 15th. On the second touch, we would set a public hearing at that meeting if desired for the 13th of October. Or I guess we have to set a public hearing on the 13th of October at 9:15.
Let me just look at that. You're saying on September 15th? Yeah, if you act on the 15th, the deadline for the first notice will be the 18th, and the first publication will be the 23rd, and publication will occur on September 23rd, September 30th, and October 7th, with a hearing 6 days later. That'll work fine.
All right.
Why don't we just set the public hearing today?
Well, the only reason I wasn't going to do it because we only have discussion on the agenda.
But I understand, but setting a public hearing isn't really a decision, and Mr. Gaylord says we have to set the public hearing, so we don't really have a choice. Not much discussion here, but
I would entertain a motion if you would like, Mr. Watson.
well, I'm not going to make the motion because I'm not in favor of this, but I'm just saying I think we could sit there and meet the public hearing and give him 3 weeks notice to notice it and still get a second touch in between. So
I move we set a public hearing for a resolution supporting annexation of the Outer Islands with San Juan Fire Protection District 3 on October 13th at 9:15.
Second, we have a motion and a second to set a public hearing for a resolution supporting annexation of the Outer Islands and San Juan County, with San Juan County Fire District number 3 for on October 13th, 2020 at 9:15 in Friday Harbor. Any other comments or questions?
No.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
nay.
Motion passes 2-1. Good. Mr. Gaylord, just for a process question, we have to set it regardless, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Just thought I'd clarify. All righty. So, any other questions? Is there anything else you'd like to say?
Not me.
Thank you for the council's time.
All right. Thank you. I'm sorry, Mr. Stevens. You're okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Mr. Watson?
Yeah, I'll bring up my points when we have the public hearing.
Okay, great. And I would like to have a second touch, and we don't have to spend very much time in it, but 9:15, September 15th. Thank you very much. All righty, so thank you all. The next item for today would be council member updates. And we have one appointment, Mr. Watson.
Geez. Every time we get to this point in the meetings, I have no clue about council member updates. So clearly nothing burning.
All righty. Well, thank you for the enlightenment, Mr. Watson. Appreciate it. Mr. Stevens.
Well, it's been a while since we've done these, but a couple of weeks ago I was at the Association of Counties, the executive board retreat, and part of the time there was going over to Naval Air Station, or not Air Station, Naval Base Kitsap, which is really like kind of like our squadrons at the air base, but it's actually like 5 different installations, and the captain stayed with us the entire afternoon. We didn't get to actually go into most of them, but it was very interesting, and the Navy accounts for about 35% of Kitsap County's economy.
Wow.
But what I found personally was A, the captain would spend that much time with us, and B, the atmosphere between the county and the Navy and the ability to work together to accomplish common goals such as solving traffic, etc., as the Navy expands over there is a completely different atmosphere than what we have going over at Whidbey. The captain, when they were going to expand, was the first one out there asking how to, what they would need to do or what would need to be done to accommodate traffic as people come and go. And they've worked things out. They've worked things out on land use. I asked the commissioner the same question, and he was very positive. And let's see, I have coming up, they finally got a quorum for the Monument Advisory Committee, and there's a meeting on Thursday, and I'll be attending as a subject matter expert. It's the first time anyone's called me that. And the other thing was on the Swiss meeting. I sent the information out, and I'll continue to do it, but I just wanted you to know that it was the initial meeting of the county group, and so I sent you all the information, so you got it.
Let us know if we can support you in that in any way. And you're also going to take on the Park and Rec Swiss thing as well, correct?
I am Swiss all day long.
All right, awesome. Thank you.
Swiss Miss.
All right. Great, thank you. Anything else, Mr. Stevens?
No, that's it.
All right, great. Well, thank you for covering that, those two important groups. Really, the only thing, the two committees I've been working on have been the Joint Transportation Commission. One is the analysis of the Sydney route, which is interesting. Victoria Compton from the EDC, as well as the mayor from Anacortes and a couple other folks. It's definitely an interesting, supposedly objective group as we sit next to the Clipper president, as he tries to explain the value of having the Clipper run this ferry route through Sydney, which again it seems strange since this was put together pre-COVID, so we can't even go into Canada. So it's kind of an interesting discussion all around, but making progress on that. And again, thank you, Mr. Stevens, for supporting me on this as on the county representative or local government representative on the kind of the future of transportation. We've had one meeting and we've been talking a lot about revenue. That was a 3-hour meeting last week. We talked about revenue and how we spend it. So basically, understanding the shortfalls that the state of Washington is going to have due to COVID, due to 976, and the MVAT gas tax reductions that are pretty significant because of COVID, and what are the platforms that the state can look at to generate revenue to continue to do protected transportation money. We spent a lot of time talking about the 18th Amendment in the Constitution, which protects gas tax. We talked about carbon fees and ride shares and multimodal. It was a very interesting discussion, and I will keep you posted as we go through. I think it's a pretty fast group. It's about 4 meetings, so there's 3 left. And the hope is to have a recommendation or at least information to provide to the legislature before January. So it should be a relatively fast pace. Other than that, just continue to work on ferries, which is always an adventure. I'd like to have a shout out to our Ferry Advisory Committee and Bill Pike, who's the volunteer, who had made a recommendation to ferries and showed schedules of switching boats out in the afternoon in Anacortes. The Chelan in the morning sits idle, and it will be replacing the Yakima or the Sandwich, depending on which boat comes in there, because it's already there, and so it should erase or at least reset the lateness of the day so far. So yesterday the Chelan was broken down, so it was supposed to be the first day. We're really able to figure out how well it works, so hopefully we'll have more information today how that works. And it's not a perfect solution, but it should erase the lateness in the morning and at least give them a fresh start to get late in the afternoon. So that will be successful. And some of the biggest complaints that I've been getting locally has been from the commercial haulers that they're losing significant amounts of money due to the late ferries, and they're really struggling with the fact that if a sailing is at 1 o'clock, for example, they need to be there at 12:30, but if the boat's 3 hours late, they still have to be there at 12:30.
Yep.
They're not going to sail for a couple hours or they lose their reservation. So we're continuing to work with Washington State Ferries on that situation. And then the final ferry issue that's got us a little frustrated is they've decided to make every other route whole, but because we went into COVID during the winter schedule, winter has now become our baseline, whereas the other routes are getting back to their normal schedules, and we've been complaining about a winter baseline since this started. And so we're hoping to have some relief, but I don't really expect to see anything until we ease back into the next winter schedule. So I don't really know what to say. Your advice from council would be great. I feel like we're spinning wheels occasionally. But the nice thing is with this vote switch, hopefully that should help a little bit and alleviate about an hour and a half of late votes, assuming nothing breaks down. Anyway, thank you for that. Mr. Thomas, do you have anything?
On the ferry system, I've got a lot.
No, I don't like to talk about ferries. You've already made yourself very clear about that one.
I actually appreciate Washington State ferries. I can't believe that they're relegated to using probably the world's oldest ferry system, but really the resolution is with the legislature. So I ask you, Mr. Chairman, to invite them all up so they can spend a couple hours in that tarmac ferry at the Anacortes ferry system. But on a more positive note, we are doing second round of interviews for a public defender this week. We will have a bid opening for the solar project that was rebid on Wednesday. And what else? Oh, just a million other details that makes the county run. That's it for me.
And thank you for your furlough day.
You know, it was great. It was productive and priceless.
And so we have one appointment. Ingrid does not have anything. Again, the next meeting is September 15th. We have an appointment to the MRC. Mr. Stevens, would you like to make that nomination?
Sure. Mr. Chair, I move to appoint Beth Tate to position number 10 on the Marine Resources Committee.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to appoint Beth Tate to position number 10 in the Marine Resource Committee. Any questions or comments? Not seeing any. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Thank you. Mr. Thomas, the closed session, how long do you anticipate? Mr. Thomas?
What I said when I was on mute, no more than 20 minutes.
All right, great. So we'll start with the executive session to discuss current and pending litigation pursuant to RCW 42.30.110(1)I. Mr. Gaylord, we will have you as part of that meeting, and then we will go into a closed session to discuss matters pertaining to collective bargaining pursuant to RCW 42.30.144B. 5 minutes for the executive session. You say 25 minutes for the closed session, and no action will be taken. And then we will come out of the closed session adjourned for the day. Thank you very much.
And will there be a new sign-in for the
I'll
executive
send you an invite, Randy.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Right.
Yeah.
Great.
Love you all.
Bye-bye.